happen next. Another poor unsuspecting warthog might wander towards them. So we're going to keep an eye on the boys for now. Hopefully they do get moving. Otherwise, we do have plan B, C, and D now. Miale, the lions, and Rosetta, possibly. Well, that's her name. So we're going to see what happens here for a bit longer before we move on. While we do that, it sounds like McCurdy is racing off somewhere.
Still just trying to get to that hyena den, and it feels like it's getting further and further away. But Brent, you'll be happy to know, very, very briefly, you got to see the straw-tailed wider. Yay! You've been telling me about it, and you put one on screen the other day, which was very cool. And we just passed Hippo pools. Sadly, I didn't get to show all of you, but it was really nice to finally see. I've been quite lucky with the birds this week, in terms of how many new ones I've actually added to the list, which is really quite cool. So there we go. Was I supposed to go down there? No. The next one. We'll go down the next one, I think, to get towards the hyena. Just checking here for any more birds. This spot is quite nice, although it's dried up quite a bit. So they mustn't have had too much rain here last night. A little bit. It's a bit wet. But no one's home. Normally there's a Goliath heron that lives... I don't want to get stuck. Normally there's a Goliath heron that's around here. No birds. Not even the Egyptian geese today. That's unusual. Remember, we've seen a couple of times I've stopped here and there's been a whole flock. Bless you, Craig. Bless you. Another one? No, just two. Okay. Now, Sinak, you're wondering what species of widow birds are found in Kenya. Shall we have a look? Let's bring the book out. Let's quickly have a look, because I can rattle off... Oh, sorry, it takes me a while to stop. I can rattle off all sorts of names, but I think it would be better if we actually took a look at them, don't you think? And luckily, widow birds should be right at the end too. Where are we going to start? 686. 600, so quite far. 180... Sorry, my hair feels like spider webs sometimes on my face. Almost, I promise we're almost there. No, next page. Okay, right. So, theoretically the yellow-crowned... No, that's a bishop. That's the one Brent has been telling me about that I need to keep an eye out on. So not that one. Here we go. Yellow mantled widow bird. So number 4 down here on the bottom right. I'm so sorry, Craig. I can't even see my monitor at the moment. But that one there where my thumb is. That is one that we get to see. So we get quite a few down here. Let me go to the next page. Oh yes, these all look familiar. Then top left is the fan-tailed widow bird, which I think is the most common one that we're seeing at the moment. And the white-winged widow bird, which is number 2. Have I seen that in South Africa? Yes, we see that in the greater Kruger area. That's one that we see quite often. It just occurs on the border of Kenya and Tanzania. So maybe we'll see it down on the border. Number 3, the red-collared widow bird. We most certainly see lots of them. And then yes, so there we go. So 1, 2, 3, maybe a few more species of widow birds too. But the most common ones that we're seeing at the moment are the red-collared, the fan-tailed. Oh, and then where's the Jacksons? Why can't I find Jacksons? Oh, there's another page of widow birds. Brent was also telling me that I need to keep an eye out for number 2, which is that one. The Jackson's widow bird, which I haven't seen just yet, so I'll keep an eye out for that one. I think he said I don't know if he managed to put one on screen, but I know he was trying the other day. I don't think it was sitting still. But very cool. So there's a variety of widow bird species and that we get to see out here in the Mara. which is very nice. I think the only one that I haven't seen so far is the Jacksons. I really need to make an effort to go through my birds and figure out how many I've actually seen over the years, because I've completely lost count. I also don't have my, well, now with my Kenyan birds, I think I've probably seen quite a few more birds since I've been here in the Mara. But for me, it doesn't matter about numbers. It's just constantly learning about the new birds and seeing them. One day, when I'm bored, I'll eventually go through and count them all on a rainy day. Right, but I am going to send you back across the Mara River. So we're going to go from the Triangle to the Masai Mara National Reserve. Brent is not letting those cheetah out of his sight.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We're still sitting with the boys, and as I predicted, they have plonked for now, doing a bit of grooming after their little piggy afternoon roast. As I say, it's going to be interesting to see if they hunt again. I'm not sure that they're going to be honest. But you never know, and I think they are worth spending the time with, this lot. So they don't look quite settled just yet. There's quite a bit of up and down movement. Let's go across to the two grooming. There we go. Hello. Let's clean the blood off each other's faces. There we go, and there they are. Practicing a little bit of aloe grooming. Still definitely looking about to see if there's any potential prey around. Oh, hello Ben, who's 9 years old. Ben, all I heard is that somebody told me that it was possibly your birthday. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear what your question was. It was a bit broken up, but happy birthday, Ben, who's 9 years old. I think Megan is saying how fast, or what's a cheetah's maximum speed. They are documented doing as much as 110 kilometers an hour, but that was quite a long time ago. Now it's thought that probably top speed is between 90 and 100 kilometers an hour. So still very, very fast, and much faster than any people or any person could run. I think the fastest person ever recorded was Usain Bolt, and I think it was 45 kilometers per hour or something like that. So well more than double what a human being can run. There we go, some lovely tender moments from the boys. Now, these moments of aloe grooming, which it means sort of social grooming, are very important when it comes to re-establishing the bonds that they have, while they often will fight and scrap with each other. So after those moments of fighting and scrapping, the little licks and loves are to reaffirm that they're all still friends. Well, they're on the move, which is a good thing for us, and they're moving in a good area for us, because hopefully I'll be able to hear Megan if I go a little bit higher. Oh no, you know what they're doing? Cheeky cheetah. They're using the shade, well, one is using the shade of the safari vehicle to sleep in. There's no trees around, so if there's a convenient safari vehicle, just let's lie in that shade. I thought they were going to keep moving. Hopefully they will. But for the moment, they're lying in the shade of the safari vehicles. But I'm going to have to go up the hill a little bit, see if I can hear Megan. Oh. Okay, well, we're going to wait to see what these guys get up to. While we do that, it seems like Noel is with something that is a lot bigger and a lot scarier than a cheetah.
Made it over to Chitwa Dam, and it is a beautiful scene right now. We've got lots of hippos playing in the water. They're also enjoying this sunshine as well as this little bit of a breeze. We had one hippo that was out the water, but she climbed quickly back in as we came up. So these are the youngsters that have been giving us such great antics the past few times we've been here. As they get older, they get more comfortable in their space and they get more playful. And then obviously a lot of the play that they're doing is going to help them later in life when they're all grown up, whether they're male or female, whether they need to defend their little ones or defend their territories as males. So hippos have a very thin epidermis, a very thin skin, and they don't sweat. Like most of the mammal species we see out here, they don't sweat, and they have no hair to help protect them from the sun or the heat. So by staying in the water during the day, it makes up for all of this. It also is protecting their skin. Remember, their skin's very sensitive because of that thin epidermis, because of that thin top layer of skin. So a lot of the times when you do see them out of the water, they appear quite pink, and that's that very special secretion that they make that works like a sunscreen. It's basically a mucus over their skin. And they lose more water through their skin than any other mammal, which is something that we talk about. So if we were similar to a hippo and we lost as much moisture through our skin as they did, we would need to be in the water or in a moist environment often. Or else we would dehydrate excessively or desiccate. Desiccate's another word for dehydration. Usually desiccation refers to lizard species and snakes and things like that, but we can also use it to work for us as well. And then, of course, because of all of this, that's why they move outside the water when it's cooler or nighttime for their feeding practices, to mitigate all their circumstances. Other animals that live in sort of dry, very, very dry areas that have the probability of possibly dehydrating will also do a lot of their feeding at night. Something like a gemsbok or even springbok, which we don't get here, but in more arid areas, they'll do something similar, and they get a lot of the moisture they need from eating the plants during the time of the evening or early morning where the dew collects. Now, just right in front of our car, maybe 2 meters from our vehicle, we have a beautiful little prankton call that's sitting here in some old elephant dung. And these prankton calls, look, before I moved here, I saw prankton calls every now and then, but we have these ones that nest in this area. We had that really great sighting of an egg maybe about a month or so ago. And then every time I've popped up here, I keep seeing them, but I haven't seen any chicks yet. And I have a feeling that not many of the eggs have survived, because this is where the elephants like to walk down when they come to drink. And obviously elephants have very big feet, and so it can sometimes be difficult for these birds to keep their eggs alive. Because remember, they're not making a nest, it's just a tiny little scraping in the ground and then putting that egg right there, and the egg is meant to camouflage. Kevin, you're curious to know, are there any crocodiles here at Chitwa Dam? There are crocs, and I'm actually having a look around from our vantage point right now to see if we can see any. I'm not seeing any from here. They could possibly be in the water, or they could be up on the island where I cannot see. Or, Vildi, did you see one on the other side there? Yeah, we're just checking. Oh, there's some bushbuck on the other side there. Again, an antelope species we don't see often. They like to hide in the thick bush. These ones particularly like to be around the dam, and just on the right-hand side of your screen as well, there's a spoonbill, that white bird with a spatula-type bill. And then it looks like some white-faced whistling ducks and maybe an ibis that's over there on the side. It's quite far away from where we are. It's on the strip of Chitwa Main Lodge there. Just checking the rocks that side. Willow, who's 3 3 years old. Hello, Willow. You're curious to know if hippos talk to each other, and I'm not quite sure if you heard all that grunting that just happened now. Willow, they do indeed talk to each other. Most organisms communicate with each other in some manner. Hippos outside the water make that funny laughing grunt sound that we just heard a little bit of now, and then they also communicate underneath the water. They're related to whales. Hippos are related to whales. They're in the same order. So all of the organisms that we work with, so whether we're human or we're a bird or we're a plant or we're a hippo, we all have these different sequences that we fit into. And so hippos and whales are cousins of each other. And I'm not sure if you've ever heard whale song under the water. I'm going to do my best to imitate, but it's a sort of singing noise. And hippos will do that underwater in a similar fashion. There they laugh. A little bit there. Using their lower jawbone, they're able to communicate that way with vibrations. Yes, it's such a beautiful afternoon here. Willow, I don't know if you're coming to us from the States, but if you are, when I was a kid, there was a really wonderful program with Ben Affleck called Voyage of the Mimi, and there's some really great stuff on humpback whales from there. I don't know, maybe you guys can Google it with your mom, and I think you'd find that super interesting. So while we're busy looking for things like crocodiles and maybe little Hosana here at Chitwa Dam, let's head on over to Tristan and see what he's up to.
Well, I'm busy watching a poor African harrier hawk, or a gymnogene, for any of you that remember the old name, being mobbed and chased by multiple fork-tailed drongos. You can see the little drongos dive bombing this poor African harrier hawk, and the reason why they're doing that is because the harrier hawk obviously is a bird hunter, and so it goes into the nests and goes and hunts all of their little chicks and things like that, and so it gets disciplined very quickly by the fork-tailed drongos. It gets chased away and is made to get out of the area and to try and go somewhere else. Now, the reason why we know it's an African harrier hawk, as you see it banked like that into the light, you can really get a nice indication of its coloration. It's got that grey color with those yellow legs and face mask, which can change to red sometimes when they're in breeding phase. And then it's got a very heavily broad barred tail, so white and black on the tail itself, which is very, very cool. So it's a beautiful bird to see, and we often see them around quarantine and various other parts of the reserve, going from marula tree to marula tree, sticking their long legs inside those trees to try and get into the nests and try and find things like squirrels, babies, and obviously chicks of birds, and that's why the birds get a little upset with them and try and kind of chase them away and send them somewhere else. But that was very good. Well done, Darby. Good camera work there. It's not easy to follow a soaring bird. They look like they're just kind of circling very slowly, but they actually move incredibly fast, particularly when they are being chased by other birds. But so far, no luck on Tundi. We've done a few loops around. I drove where James said he saw Tundi and cub this morning, and while there are tracks absolutely everywhere, we haven't been able to find anything as yet. We've seen, where she was moving up and down. There are tracks for the little cub. There's tracks for her. It looks like they might have gone north again and towards sort of Rebecca's side and westwards, and maybe she's got a kill somewhere there. I'm not sure. So I'm just trying to do a few loops now towards sort of Treehouse Dam, Zoe's Road, just to make sure she hasn't popped out in any of those areas. If she has, well, then we'll be able to pick up tracks and follow them from there. But otherwise, we'll just keep looping around, and as it gets cooler, hopefully that's going to mean she is going to start moving and either go for some water, or maybe just go back to a cub, or maybe back to a kill that she might potentially have. Right, well, I will be going towards Treehouse Dam now and trying to search for what I am looking for, but it seems that Taylor McCurdy has managed to find what she was looking for, and hopefully it's a very active den.
We raced on over because I was worried that we were going to start running out of time because it gets so dark so quickly. We were, of course, talking about that. Hello, little one. You seem to be very excited. Nudging up to that female. That one's just come out of the den. Now, it looks like, yes, I don't think that's your mum. There is a young cub that is suckling at the moment, just hiding in the grass, that is slightly older than this the little one that's being a bit cheeky. Remember how I've said there's clearly one young hyena cub that's still quite black in color, that's probably between 5 and 7 weeks old, somewhere around there, that it walks around like it owns the place, and I can only imagine it must be one of the higher ranking females cubs. But there's not many adults around, so you better be careful when mom's not home to be quite cheeky towards the other adults. But the rest of them are under cover at the moment. They're hiding away from the wind that's here, and I suppose it would be quite nice and cozy down in that burrow. We did also see 2 other hyena closer towards the road. They actually look like males to me. They could have also just been very young females, but not too close to the den. So they do scatter themselves out, like we said, and it is hard to spot them. So Mom could be around here somewhere. Also, a herd of elephants, I think, moved through. We can still see the elephants, but I think we would have missed the interaction maybe about 15-20 minutes. Unfortunately, you can see them just off into the distance. I think they would have come straight through this den. That would have also sent the hyenas running, and I'm sure the youngsters would be very nervous of encountering these large giants, and maybe, actually got a bit of a fright and sent them down into that burrow. So it's not particularly active at the moment. Now, 15 seconds, you said you find hyenas very interesting. I do too. And that's why we spend so much time at the den sites when we can. Unfortunately, they're not always active when we want them to be, like right now. At least it's a little bit of a sight of a hyena, just to get your fix, of course. But they are really fascinating creatures. And I like to spend a bit of time with them because I think there's a whole lot that I don't know about hyenas. It goes on behind the scenes. So I always look forward, and I sit pretty much with my notebook in hand and my pen, waiting and watching the various behaviors that I see. And hopefully I'll start to get to know the individuals of the North Clan, and then go from there. But for now, they're very relaxed, just suckling away, filling up that belly before the adults have to search for some food again. It all starts again. Of course, it's a big routine. Come back, feed the cubs, go off, look for some dinner, come back to the den. Sometimes they don't come back to the den for a day or two. But we'll sit here for no, never mind. What I have spotted that looks like it's a little bit more interesting is just to the right of that hyena, up on the shrub, is a white-browed kukul. We've been seeing lots of them at the moment. Hello. We've been seeing lots of juveniles too, which has been quite fascinating. And then we saw that the other morning, and I'd said to you how I'd never seen juvenile white-browed kukuls before. Not alarming at the hyenas. I would imagine that this one lives within the vicinity and sees them often. Now, a bird would not necessarily be on a hyena's menu, and even though they are very, very good hunters, we don't typically see them going after the avian species. However, to a young leopard or a lion cub, of course, it would be quite entertaining. I can't say that I've ever seen young hyenas sort of chasing around birds like we see with leopards and lions, for example, or no, I've never seen that before. I don't think that there's any need for them to be chasing after those characters. Just here, listening to the elephants feed now as well. A few little testiculars and things shouting. I'm not sure what they're shouting about. I don't think it would necessarily be the hyenas. Now, Dave, you're wondering if a hyena would ever hunt alone? But possibly. If a male is out on his own, or there's 2 cubs there. I didn't even see them. They're so camouflaged. I've seen hyenas hunting and chasing kudu around, because we used to see that a lot down at Sabi. The kudu were petrified of the hyenas, and I have seen hyenas chasing kudu on quarantine, which is that big open plain that you see down in Djuma in South Africa. But I haven't seen one on its own before. It wouldn't surprise me though. Remember, hyenas are not necessarily always together. They do spread out. Right, what's happening now, girl? You done suckling your cubs? They do look like they've got nice full bellies. And there is another, actually there's a sub-adult going towards that kukul. That's quite funny. There we go. Look, it's actually looking at the kukul. You can't see it right now. It's quite camouflaged, but it's still in that shrub. And it wasn't really, you might have just seen it duck down into the left of that shrub. It's showing, are you being a bit curious? It is a bit curious. Here we go. Here's something I've never seen before. And isn't it fitting that we were just talking about youngsters perhaps chasing after birds? Not pouncing in there like a young cat would, but just investigating, just having a little smell. And I'm sure if a bird got too close, maybe they would snap at it and try and catch it. But I don't feel like they would go chasing after it. There's so many other, obviously, hyena cubs that they can play with one another. They can keep themselves entertained. And I suppose that's what's quite nice about living in a family, whether it's a clan or a pride. Whereas the adults don't have that much of a responsibility to keep their youngsters entertained. They can kind of rely on the other youngsters in the group to entertain one another. We see that with lions as well. Whereas leopards, it's a little bit different. Mom has got a huge responsibility. And even with Cheetah, you know, if it's just mom and one cub, she's got to play with them. She's got to keep them entertained all the time. Hello, Fluffy. Oh, there's a few more starting to pop out. Oh, they're so sweet. I love them when they're that age. I miss Tima so much. That was a very sweet little hyena. There we go. Being quite affectionate to one another, just sort of smelling and licking. Where's that bossy cub that was out here a moment ago? I'm sure it'll come through and stir a bit of trouble, like it always seems to do. It's like the floppy-eared cub of the hyena clan. Right, we'll stay here for a little bit longer because it seems as though the cubs are starting to emerge from the den. Will they come up to the car? I'm not sure. However, Brent is still keeping a watchful eye on the cheetah.
I am, but a watchful eye from a long distance. Unfortunately, the comms gremlins down in that valley are very bad. So I've just managed to put myself in a position where we can still keep an eye on them. And it does look like they might get moving again shortly. So we're just sitting probably about 500 meters from them on top of a little hill where I can hear Megs talk to us. So there we go, they are moving. Now I'm hoping that they do come up towards us here, although there's not much to eat up here. Oh, and hopefully they don't cross the lugger again, because that could be interesting for us. We just managed to get through. Now the main crossing at the lugger is someone is stuck in the crossing now, so there's a whole big traffic jam of people trying to get towards the boys, but they can't get there because someone's got stuck in the crossing. We made our own crossing, of course, but I don't want to do that crossing more than once. It was quite hairy the first time. But it does look like they are slightly sloping upwards towards us. Well, towards the top of the hill. So let's just move around a bit. Okay. So it looks like they might come up towards the angle here. So I'm just going to keep up high for the moment. And where I can still keep an eye on them. Oh, big hole. So it looks like they are almost sort of heading towards, there's a lone tree over there. That seems to be the direction. Now they could go floppity flop before then, but all five seem to be up at the moment. And it looks like we might be in for some more rain again this evening. Fortunately, it's still quite far away. Hopefully they will come back into a good comms area shortly. The general direction does seem to be up towards Kissinger's. Well, Kissinger's is quite far away, but that's the direction they're heading, towards sort of Kikarok. Now we will stay with them as long as possible so we know where to look tomorrow morning. And as you can see, there are other vehicles also enjoying the sighting. And we do apologize for having them in shot, but we have to stay quite far away for now. Hopefully they... No, don't sit down. No, keep moving. There we go. Good boys. Alan is wondering about one of our favorite cheetah, Malika. He saw a video of her jumping on a safari car and wondering what are the rules about that. It's naughty, Alan. So, I mean, if she jumped on our car, it'd probably be, well, she jumps on a lot of cars. I don't let her jump on my car. If she tries to jump on my car, I just tap the side like this or start the car to stop her doing that. But certain people will let her do that. So the problem is that one day there might be a small child in that car or a very scared person who reacts badly, causing her to react badly. Oh dear, did they flop down into the grass? No! Okay guys, it looks like they're going to... Oh no, there's still two up. But yeah, so it's not ideal, let's put it that way. It's discouraged heavily by the park officials, just in case something happens. Oh my goodness. There's people stuck all over the place. Sorry, I find it amusing. Two crossings above. It seems like they've managed to get out of the one crossing while someone's tried to cross the next crossing. And they've got stuck. I know I probably shouldn't laugh at other people's discomfort, but it is quite funny. Okay, well, looks like they're going flat for now. We're going to sit here, play the patience game for a little longer. While we do that, let's go zooming all the way back to South Africa with Noel and a kingfisher.
We have a beautiful woodland kingfisher that has been diving into the water, not for fish, but to clean itself, to bathe. Woodland kingfisher in general don't eat fish. They are insectivorous. They eat insects. And this one has just found a beautiful little shady spot to every now and then jump in. But Vildi and I gave each other a little bit of a fright just now. We have found the crocodile, and we were busy doing a delay test, so I have to clap my hands for a delay test so we know how far the voiceovers carry between us and the Mara. And the croc was right here at the edge of the water. You can just see little bubbles sort of going away now, and this croc like dived off. We didn't see it. It's moving away under there. All right, so we don't always get a chance to talk about fish because fish are not always something that we see, but I thought since we're here at Chitwa Dam, fish might be a good thing to talk about. About 40% of all the fish worldwide are freshwater fish, so those are fish that we would live in here. Now, something interesting about South Africa is that 25% of the freshwater fish that we find in places like this are actually not fish from South Africa. They're alien invasive species fish, like bass. Bass, for instance, is an alien invasive species. Now, something like that crocodile that just gave us a little bit of a scare, and something like the egret that is across in this tiny little bit of vegetation over there, they're going to eat fish. And we have forms of tilapia here, as well as you should find perch every now and then in here. And then there's another one that's tickling my head. It's Jack, and I had the name just now and it's escaping me. Another alien invasive species fish we have is carp, and a friend of mine fishes them a lot, and he always feels good about himself. Sorry, everyone. Ooh, there's the woodland kingfisher. I'm going to take you away just because I can see the crocodile now again. It's just busy moving underneath this little bit of vegetation. Just see the top of the head there. So a large croc like this will eat mammal species like impala, but it will very much eat larger fish as well. And you were asking about crocs. I'm actually hoping that this one will get up onto the island here. It does enjoy being up the side. Now, a larger croc like this, let's say it got a small to medium size impala, might be a little bit big for it, but let's just say it did that. That meal could last it for a long time. But let's say for hypothetical reasons, it couldn't get anything like that. Eating things like the fish that are in this dam are going to sustain it throughout the year. Now, a lot of times in southern Africa, you'll find that crocodiles aestivate, which is a type of hibernation when winter time is cold and dry as opposed to cold and wet, which happens in a lot of the northern hemisphere places, and they'll dig themselves into the banks of dams like this, or sometimes they'll go inside termite mounds. That kingfisher really wants to be heard. I hope you can all hear that in the background. But sometimes you'll find that even through the winter months, you'll still see crocs in large dams like this still moving about because the food resources are still readily available. I feel like I'm competing with this woodland kingfisher at the moment. Go ahead, sir. No, he's done. He's now preening himself. And so you'll get movement throughout the year as opposed to areas where the water will sort of disappear during the dry season, and then the croc lowers its body temperature to almost non-existent, its heart rate to almost non-existent, and does that hibernation. Now, Vildi, we might be a bit too far away, but there's a tiny little baby hippo that's starting to come out of the water there. Let's see if we can see this baby hippo for a little bit as he comes out. You can see that pink coloration that we were talking about. Now, he doesn't have any playmates over there. He's just playing by himself and investigating his surroundings. But I believe my friend Tristan has some elephants that we've been searching for, so I think let's head on over to him and have a look.
Indeed we do. We came across not one, not two, but many elephants, and they stretched out all the way from Treehouse Dam, going sort of in a westerly direction, and north, south, everywhere we look there was ellies around. And so we've caught up with the majority of the herd, except that they are now disappearing into the thickets. Of course they would. They were all out on the road a few seconds ago, and then when it's time for them to put on a show, well, they've decided, no, it's time for some shade and a bit of feeding. But you can see little trunks sticking through, and they are ever so tentatively feeding off one of these weeping wattles that still has a few flowers on it, so they're trying to find some of those yellow flowers to feed on. Now, what I might do is just quickly reposition ourselves so we get a slightly better view, because most of our ellies are quite hidden, so I just want to try and kind of go around them a little bit. If Rusty would decide to go into reverse, because Rusty doesn't feel like going into reverse sometimes, and so you have to kind of be a bit rough with Rusty and get Rusty to actually do what you ask it to do, but that's okay. We are good friends by now. We've made up after Rusty ejected me from the vehicle and I took it through some thickets, so we now have had one for one and we're all good, and so everything is okay. Now, hopefully, if I can just get around this area and position myself slightly in front of this herd, we'll be able to get them all kind of walking towards us. That's the idea anyway. Whether or not it works, I'm not quite sure, but let's see how we go. I'm also trying to just look for a little bit of shade for Dave and I, because it is fairly warm in the sun, and so a little bit of shade would be thoroughly welcome in a day, or on a day like today, should I say, not in a day. That's not very good English, and James will, he's already beaten me once in ping pong, will probably beat me again if I carry on using English like that, so I'll try and sort myself out. Darby, I think if we go around this bush, then we should be good. Then they should be walking straight towards us from here. I can see some of them coming out. I just want to try and position ourselves slightly better. This little gap here should be good. Nice little bit of shade. I think we're going to be in a winning situation here, Darby. Here we go. Let's try to go around this little bush here. And there we go. That's better, isn't it? It's not the best shade that I could have found. There's still a bit of sun on us. I think Dave's probably got more shade than I do, but at least the ellies are all nice and clearly visible, and you can see that they have had a fabulous time, probably at Treehouse Dam, maybe even at the Shabamu mud wallows, but they've all absolutely covered in not only mud but in water too. So they've, wherever they've been, they've had a really good bathe, and it's needed on a day like today. If you're a big large animal like an elephant, you do need a bit of water to try and kind of cool you down, as well as a bit of mud. Now, campers, you want to know what is the most dangerous animal to encounter in a vehicle? Well, you're probably looking at it. So elephants in vehicles can be incredibly dangerous. They're animals that possess serious amounts of power. They are able to easily turn over a vehicle, no problem. And you have a situation where they are, you know, sometimes very defensive of their young ones, as well as they might have had a fight if it's a male with another male, or they're in a condition called must, which is a heightened level of testosterone, and therefore they can be a little bit temperamental. And when they decide to take you on, well, we're no match for them. Even in a car, they'll easily be able to flip a vehicle and throw all the occupants out, as well as mangle it into a piece of tin foil, basically. And so an Ellie is by far the most dangerous for us out here in vehicles, probably closely followed by buffalo and hippos, which sounds really odd, but the two of them can be a little bit feisty. Buffalo not so much because they want to attack cars, but they normally cause damage to vehicles when being chased by lions, and they blindly panic and run, particularly at night, and then they can hit quite a few vehicles. Right, well, we're going to sit with our Ellies because there's nothing better really. I suppose maybe a leopard with the elephants would be better, but sitting with Ellies and enjoying their company on a warm afternoon is a wonderful way to spend a day. It's very relaxing, and so we're going to spend time here, and while we do that, let's send you back over to Taylor McCurdy and the cuteness that is those little spotted hyenas.
There's no better way, Tristan, than to describe the hyenas the way you've just done. I also think that they are adorable. Now, I can understand why people don't think they're so precious when they get older. But at this age, you cannot tell me that looking at these fluffy creatures, especially the two on the left, they're very, very, very cute. They're just sort of staring at us at the moment. Tell me that that's not precious. That is absolutely adorable. And it's getting windy, and it's getting cold now. I'm surprised that they've actually come out. Thank you, little hyenas. There comes a naughty one. Just popping out of the den now. There's two naughty ones just sitting at the entrance there. I still don't know how many cubs are in this clan. I think I've seen a few more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm pretty sure we've seen a few more than this. Did we count like 9 or 10 hyena cubs the other day? I can't even remember. But perhaps between Rolf and I we can try and figure it out. And whoever else comes to the den. Oh, they're so sweet. But very, very, very quiet. We've had some very interesting sightings over the last few weeks coming here. And they've been very busy. There's been a lot of fighting that's going on. So it is nice to see all peace and quiet. I say that, and then those two now they're starting to bite one another. I think they're fighting over that stick that's just coming out of the ground. It must be a root of a plant. Or perhaps a stem of a plant. Well, they're both going to chew on it. It's amazing how they didn't even acknowledge it, but as soon as one finds something, it's like kids. Give them one toy, everybody wants to play with it. Except that one that's walking away. That one's not interested. I think it's going to go and bother that older cub now. Joy, you said that they are such characters. They most certainly are. Ooh, that cuckoo has landed on the ground. I wonder if that little hyena has actually seen it, because it's marching over in that direction. Let's see if that youngster has spotted it yet and what its reaction is going to be. I don't think it's seen it. Oh, there we go. Oh, look at that. Did you see how its behavior changed very quickly? Here we go. Now we'll find out if hyena cubs chase birds or not. I could have been completely wrong. Very excited by it, though. He's stalking. Hiding. Maybe it's going to shoot out of that hole and race towards that kukul. However, that little hyena cub is not going to be quick enough to catch that kukul, I can assure you. And I think that's why that kukul knows that it's quite safe playing around on the ground. Most of the youngsters are out in the open where it can see. An adult hyena won't be interested in that bird. Let's see. No interest whatsoever. It's just popping back out again. Right, well, it's been a beautiful afternoon with the hyena cubs. I think we'll come back here first thing tomorrow morning and hopefully spend a bit more time with them. Perhaps you'll see some more action. Noelle is down in South Africa, as you know. She hasn't got a leopard, but she's got something that has got lots and lots of feathers.
There you go. Hello everyone, we have come over to the other side of Chitwa Dam and we found a really nice view of an African Jacana. We are just trying, it keeps moving down the way here. Let me just see, there we go, let's get a view there. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. It's been hunting around the edges here for aquatic insects and also non-aquatic insects. Notice the large, large feet to help it through muddy areas. It also allows it to stand on top of floating vegetation like water lilies. And this bird's, ooh, there it gets an aquatic insect there, and you just saw another one floating past. Aquatic insects are really interesting. They need to breathe still, but they have different ways of being able to breathe. So for them to habitat these areas that this, oh, we got one, that this Jacana is fishing in, they can attain the water underwater from plants using a snorkel. They can also fill up their lungs and then they stay underwater for long periods of time. Or some of them have evolved self-contained underwater breathing mechanisms, like some spiders and some adult insects, and they trap air bubbles over their spiracles. Their spiracles are how they breathe. And then mosquito larvae are quite interesting. They have sharp spiracles to penetrate plants to get air bubbles, or they use a snorkel on their back end that they hang upside down in and then get water that way. Also, some aquatic beetles trap air underneath their wings. So all of those insects are able to live in this habitat, and then because they can live and breathe in this habitat, something like this Jacana is able to obtain food sources, and then its body has developed to be able to access some of their species that other birds wouldn't necessarily be able to do because of the foot structure and where it can live. David, you're saying this is now number 47 on your list. Fantastic. I'm hoping that's 47 for 2018. That's a good list so far. Tristan and I were talking today. Tristan's going on leave soon, and I asked him what he was doing, and he's going, oh, there, I caught one there. Nice little aquatic insect. Tristan's going to go birding in the Kruger National Park, and he's going to go look for some lifers there, and I'm very jealous of the lifer list that he's aiming for this leave. And if he gets some, I'm going to then have to go on leave very shortly and, and try and tick them off as well. Now, Jacanas are polyandrous, so basically what happens, the female will come and lay eggs, and then she goes away, and then she does it with another male, and then another male, and then another male, and then the males all are the ones that take care of the chicks, interestingly enough. Happens in some bird species, but not many, and happens in very few mammal species, if any. So I was also watching this Jacana earlier. It was picking insects off a dead log that were non-aquatic insects, but I think he's found a nice little spot to access them at the moment. Another fish, we were talking about fish earlier and I forgot about this one. Another fish that we would find in a lake like this or a dam like this would be a barbel or a catfish. I found a catfish carcass here the other day, most likely brought up by something like a fish eagle. This Jacana won't necessarily eat that catfish, but many of the other bird species might scavenge off of it. Gorgeous, absolutely fantastic. Well, that was a special little sighting. Vildy is very keen for some leopard. I am also very keen for some leopard. So we're going to carry on and go have a look. And we're going to head back over to Tristan, who's still with his elephants.
I am indeed, and they are slowly but surely coming right past the front of the car. So we've got a few of them right next to us, right here. So you can see they're very, very close. So I'm trying not to move too much with them, but the whole herd is just slowly but surely tracking across the front side of the vehicle. And I was hoping that we would get them all coming past. It's a beautiful, relaxed herd. First, they were a little kind of nervous of us, so we saw a situation where there was a few ears that were out and a little bit of sort of hesitancy from them, but now they've all relaxed quite nicely, and we've got a beautiful view of this, not a huge herd, but at least a decent sized herd coming past. You can see some of the youngsters are now filing out of the background, and the adults are still sitting feeding all around us. And you can see they don't spend long in the sun. As soon as they get into the sun, they start moving quite quickly, because otherwise it just gets too warm, and even though they have this incredible ability to cool their body down with their ears, they still are having to try and just kind of get out into some semblance of shade. Now, excuse my head there, I had it in frame. I'm trying to duck down, but it is very, very difficult when there's ellies all around you, and so it was a little bit tough. Sorry, Darby, that was my fault. But there's, I think, a little baby in amongst there. Yes, there's the little tiny one. See how cute that is. That's a fairly newborn baby, I would say, maybe a couple months old, if that, and it's a fairly active little thing as well. It keeps following everybody around all over the place. Right, Dave, let's reposition once again, because they've now abruptly move past us. And we've had news as well, for those of you that are wondering, about the Nkahuma Pride. Now, the Nkahuma Pride, for some reason, I don't know if James found their tracks today, but Rexon reckons their tracks are from during the day today, have walked through Djuma and have crossed into Arethusa chasing buffalo. So I was hoping we would be able to find them. He said the tracks were heading in this direction, so that's why I was just sitting with these elephants in the hope that maybe the elephants would help me find them in one of these blocks. But it seems as though they've crossed into Arethusa on the trail of some buffalo, and so we're not going to be able to find the Nkahumas today, which is very, very sad. I actually don't even know the last time I saw the Nkahuma Pride. Actually, I do, sorry, I lie. The Nkahuma Pride, the last time I saw them was when we were in rehearsals for TV, which was at the beginning of December, and so I haven't seen the Nkahuma Pride for quite some time, and really have spent very little time with them over the course of the last year. So it would be really nice if they did decide that it would be pleasant to come back to Djuma and not stay away as much as they have over the last little bit. Right, so this should get better now, Davy. I'm just going to try and get around once more. So what we're trying to do is just try and kind of head around the herd a little bit and then just park, not in their way, but just park close by and just watch them kind of come past us in a sort of 45-degree angle. That's the idea behind this anyway. Whether or not it works, we shall soon find out. But at least we have a fairly nice view from where we're sitting. Now, you can see they're just kind of coming broadside to us at the moment, and it is the most beautiful day. Big blue skies, green summery bush, and the grey ghosts of Africa moving through. It's just one of the best ways to spend a day. Look at that. Isn't that picturesque? It certainly is a stunning summer's day. You couldn't ask for much better, and thank goodness there's a bit of a breeze as well, because otherwise it would be stiflingly hot. The Yalis look fairly relaxed about life as well. They have had their mud wallow, so they'll be cooled down, and well, for them it's just a bounty of food at the moment as they move through these green grasses and these treed areas with lots of foliage. It's like a mixed salad on buffet for them. So they've kind of just move in and they just take whatever they want with their trunks, and they will be quite selective about what they feed off at this time of the year, because they've got so much to choose from. They can find the tastiest treats, and so you see there she's kicked up a small acacia tree, and those will be the tastiest leaves that she has out here. What amazes me is that if I had to go and pick up that tree, or any one of you, you would lacerate your hands completely, but yet that elephant has just shoved that entire tree into its mouth with no worries whatsoever and eaten it all. So it just goes to show you how hard their palate is. But they absolutely love those acacias. It's one of their favorite things to eat, and particularly in the summer months, if they've got a few flowers on them, they get these tiny little yellow flowers that are full with nectar, and they absolutely love them, and you'll find that they'll chomp them down. The one in the back though is targeting some guinea grass by the looks of things, and it's got beautiful sticky sweet seed on it, and that is also fairly tasty if you're an elephant. So lots to eat here, and really good nutrition for all of them as they kind of work their way through the thickets from water point to water point, because I'm pretty sure this herd is going to start heading towards Red Dam. That's where the kind of angle that they're going in at the moment is that they'll go past Djuma and into Arethusa towards that dam. And this is how elephants go at this time of the year when it's very hot, as they literally just feed their way from one water source to the other, where they'll top up water and they'll then cool themselves down and then carry on again with the feeding process to satisfy that massive gut system that they've got. Very cool. You can see how completely relaxed they've become now. So it started out that they were a bit kind of, oh, there's a vehicle in amongst us, and they were paying attention to us, whereas now you can see everybody is completely calm and they're just doing their own thing. And that's one of the nicest things about being out here with the Ellies in this particular part of the world, is that most of them are super relaxed, and you get these intimate sort of moments where you're in amongst the Ellies, they're all around you. It's just the nicest thing to do and to spend time. So a perfect way to spend a Sunday afternoon, in my opinion. It's actually quite nice just listening to them ripping up bits of grass. I'm not sure if you guys can hear it, but as they pull up tufts, you can just hear this ripping, and then the slow walking as they kind of go through it, and then every now and then leaves brushing on their skin. It's a lovely sound to listen to, and that coupled by the breeze is, like I say, a very, very pleasant way to spend the afternoon. Now, funny enough, actually, where these elephants are standing right now, just to the right of them on the ground, you'll see a big sandy patch that's there. So that area over there, Darby. Now, that little patch there, if some of you may remember a few months ago, is where Shadow went chasing after a warthog, and she was digging around in there, and as she turned her back and walked away, the warthog came flying out. So if she'd just been a little bit more patient, she might have gotten lucky. But it's amazing to see the difference. When we filmed that, there was absolutely no grass around it, and it was a fairly bare patch. Now it's incredibly well hidden. I only just noticed it now as the Ellie kind of walked past, that it's exactly that spot where we had Shadow digging for warthogs. So amazing how things change in the summer months. Right, Darby, let's just reposition slightly. So we're going to try and get ourselves into a different area once again. Just see, there's a nice little gap here that we can go on. There's a lovely big game path. I must remember this game path because I'm pretty sure we don't want to go in there. No, that's not where we want to go, Darby. That's going to be a big hole that is in there. But I was going to say that these game paths are really good for a lot of our predators. Now I'm trying to see how big a game path we've got. There we go, that's okay. So it's a nice big aardvark burrow that is here. So it's difficult to see, but then maybe you can see it. But basically it goes in like this. So we park now on top, and this will be done by aardvarks or something like a porcupine. They'll also dig there. And so every now and then, if you're not paying attention too much and you're not really looking, you can end up inside one of those. And I actually had a friend of mine that was once being chased by a buffalo, and he was running away from the buffalo, and as he was running away, he ended up in a situation where he fell down one of those, and thank goodness he did, because if it wasn't for that, the buffalo would have gotten him, and he managed to fall down these aardvark holes. Right. Let me reposition myself, and while I do that, let's go back across to Brent Leo Smith and his... Well, I think he's left the cheetah now and is probably racing home and trying to get out of the way of a rather large storm.
Look at that! Look at that! That is a massive wall of dust that's being... Stop for only a sec. Apology. Intermittent black. And we're already starting to get raindrops, but that red there, that is dust. That is a monster. And we're going to be in the car tonight because the rivers will be too flooded to cross. So I'm going to keep moving. Now, oh, Miale is chasing something. There goes the cheetah. Hang on, hang on, hang on. There's a cheetah chase. There's a cheetah hunt going on. Hang on, it's a long way away. I just saw Miale shoot out of the bush she was in and take off at high speed. So, and came out of that bush. Yes, we are. It's where the cheetah... Maybe we're going to get our second cheetah kill in a day. Or in the afternoon, actually. Oh! Rain, go away! Rain, go away! Just wait till let me find a cheetah. Oof. She missed. It looks like she missed. Where are my binoculars? Where are my binoculars? Binos, binos, where are you? Is that her there? It definitely looks like it. Yeah, she missed. You see her? You see her, Adrian? Just hang on, go back. Zoom. Right in the center of the screen. There, where my finger is. She missed whatever she was chasing. Oh dear, so much excitement. Right at the end of the safari. But now I am going to make like a cheetah, probably not drive as fast, but I'm going to try and get away from that storm before it hits us. And there we go. Adrian's going to give you one last look. There's the rainbow, the wall of dust and the massive storm behind. Isn't that beautiful? Actually, let's just take a moment. Stunning. Now I really have to dash. Let's go back to Tristan and the elephants. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Well, we are leaving our elephants because there's something absolutely unbelievable that is at Twin Dams that I would never in my life have thought would be there. So I'm going to try and get there as quick as possible through all of this thicket. So you're going to have to be try and kind of get through all of this nonsense and try and get through this thicket, which is very difficult, while trying to get towards Twin Dams, which hopefully this suspect that is there doesn't get out of here before we can get there, because it would be very sad if we missed it. But we're going to try our very, very best. Maybe all of you can try and guess on #SafariLive what we are trying to get to at Twin Dams, because it's all very, very exciting. And of course, it's always a bit of a gamble when something is as close as that to the boundary. So I'm just trying to get back onto the road itself and see where the road actually is. I forgot how deep we went with these elephants into the bush. We went quite far. We just got to be careful. There's a lot of stumps here, a lot of holes from aardvarks, as we know already, as we've fallen in one already this afternoon. So let's try and avoid that as much as possible. Right, there we go. Come on, through we go. Right, on to the south. Right, now I'm going to try and get to Gari Main and then head in a little bit of an easterly direction. And while I do that, let's head back to Noelle, who seems to have found her own Ellies, which will make her very happy.
Hello, hello, hello. We have found some elephants. I felt like copycatting Tristan. I have just heard an update about Cheetah, however, that aren't far from us. But I just want to ask Bex, can you maybe ask Tristan if that's the update that he got and if that's where he's going? Because if he's not going there, I'm going to hightail it that way. So hopefully some of us will be able to see them. We'll have to wait and see. So let's keep our fingers crossed and our thumbs, hold our thumbs and see what's happening. Jilly, good question. How do animals like elephants keep warm? Jilly, it's very warm here where we are most times, and it doesn't get too cold, but the elephant's skin's about 1.5 centimeters thick, so that's one of the ways that they stay warm. Also, their ears is how they regulate their temperature, so when they're hot, they flap their ears quite often, and it releases the heat, and when they're cold, they keep their ears sort of flat, and that allows them to retain the heat that's in there. They lose about 82% of their body heat through their ears, and they're able to regulate it that way. Something like a lion or a leopard or a cheetah is covered in fur, and so they stay warm that way. And then I've seen, one of the areas I used to work, our winters were quite chilly, and we had some very black rocks that had a lot of magnetite in it. And the sun would heat up those rocks, and leopards would go and lie in them, and they would warm up that way. So using external forces to help keep them warm, similar to what we do when we put a jersey on or the heater on in the house. Great question. All right, now I'm hearing Tristan, so I believe Tristan is going to go to that exciting cheetah area, so I think we're going to leave that to him. I'm super excited for him, and I do hope that they stick around so that we can see them. I can just barely hear it leaking through, so I think we all must hold fingers and thumbs. I don't think he's there yet from the little bits that I can hear every now and then. And I think let's just watch these elephants and stick with me until he manages to get cheetah in a very long time. Size elephant that's coming out from the back end here. And she's looking rather gorgeous in this light, eating grass. Nice old lady, looking quite pregnant. Now remember, they're pregnant for about 22 months, and then they nurse for about 24 months, sometimes up to 3 years. But you can see on our left-hand side, her right-hand side, that is a big baby sticking out there. Now sometimes if we watch closely enough, you can actually see the baby moving and kicking. And when that baby comes out, it's going to weigh about 100 to 120 kilograms, so over 200 pounds. And it's interesting, normally a female this size during the summer months will probably eat about 200 kilograms of food, so over 400 pounds of food. But when she's pregnant, I would imagine that she'll possibly eat a bit more, very similar to humans. And she also have the hormone issues as well, because everything's changing. There you can see how dexterous her trunk is, twirling around that grass and lifting it up. If she gets too much soil on the bottom end of the grass, she'll sort of shake it around. Now I'm watching where they're eating, and we need some rain. I'm not seeing as much lush grass as I would like to see, although most of these elephants are choosing the grass over the leaves at the moment, so it's still palatable, it's still nutritious. This one's doing the same thing over at the base of that knobthorn tree. It is a big baby. That little one there is about 4 years old, going on 5, probably closer to 5. You start seeing the tush poke out around 3 years old. Before that, they've got a couple sets of milk teeth, so remember those tush are your 2 front teeth, your incisors. And then those will keep growing, very similar to us, the teeth will keep growing throughout their life. Now, you can't age them on the tush, but you can guesstimate when they're younger like this. Oh, and Tristan, I'm so super jealous. I'm green with envy. Tristan's with those cheetahs, so let's quickly go over to them so that you can see them.
Indeed we are. So just next to Twin Dams, we're a little bit on the sort of western side of Twin Dams. There is a cheetah. Can you believe this? This is absolutely ridiculous. Where a cheetah has come from and what it is doing here, I have absolutely no idea. It's a relaxed cheetah, so which cheetah it is and whether it's a male or a female, I haven't established yet. It looks like a female. Well, I mean, I haven't seen a cheetah in so long, I wouldn't even know what a female is, to be honest. But it is ridiculous nonetheless, and so cool to see. I can't actually believe that we've managed to have a cheetah on Djuma after all of this time. Can you believe that? And it's sitting in the shade as relaxed could be, right in the middle of the bush. Where it's come from, I'm at a loss for words. I have no idea where this cheetah could have been from. Now, maybe some of you will be able to ID them. I know that we have 2 males that we see in this area. One has got a bit of an opaque eye. The other one, well, it's got a bit of a different look to it. It doesn't have any opaque eyes, but maybe the spot patterns will match. Maybe somebody will figure out who this cheetah is. Maybe it's our female that had the cubs, because the cubs would have been at an age that they might have been left alone, and now she's seeking out males. Or who knows, could it be a situation that it is a new individual to this area? Now, I believe a lot of you are super excited, as am I, and you're saying that I need to take a breather. Well, I don't know if I can. I'm sorry. It's that exciting because we sit here in the Sabi Sands and we watch the Mara and we see cheetahs all over the place, and we get a little jealous about it because obviously it's been very tough times for cheetah and with us here in Djuma, and so it's very exciting when we get one. And like I say, here at Twin Dams, of all places, is absolutely ridiculous. So we're super fortunate that we've managed to catch up with it. It seems like it's going to rest and relax and just have a nice snooze, and maybe it will get up a little bit later. So we haven't managed to find a leopard, but I certainly will take this any time of the day. How ridiculous is this? I'm shocked, to be honest. Like I say, I have no idea if it's a male or female, no idea where it's come from. I was saying to Dave earlier that we saw tracks around Philemon's Dip that I thought potentially could be cheetah tracks, and then dismissed it because, well, I haven't seen a cheetah track in that area since I've been at Safari Live. I thought it might be our 3-lobed hyena, because there's a hyena here that's got 3 lobes, and it makes it quite tough sometimes. You see that track and you can be a little bit kind of unsure, so I just dismissed it. But clearly I was wrong, and it was actually a cheetah track that was moving through the property. Scouts, yes, cheetahs do have unique spot patterns like leopards. They have the same kind of system, is that their spots will be arranged differently. So you can use certain spot patterns to be able to ID them, particularly around the head area. On the flanks of the body are always good ones to use, and so there's a number of different ways to do it, but they can be ID'd just as successfully as both leopard and lions around the whisker areas as well. But most of the time you'll find that spots will be used on the flanks of the body or around the back of the head or the sort of area above the eyes, which is very, very cool. It makes it nice and easy to be able to work out who's who. Like I say though, I'm still not 100% sure if it's a male or a female. Maybe some of you that have seen some of the other cheetahs in the Sabi Sands or seen pictures of the other cheetahs in the Sabi Sands, maybe it's the male from south of us. So there's a male that hangs around on Singita, Londolozi area. There's a big southern grassland down there. There's a male that moves around there. So maybe it could be him coming north. Could be one of our two brothers, like I say, or it could be that female that has the 3 cubs, that maybe the 3 cubs have gone independent and she's now actively searching out a male. But absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe that there is a cheetah sitting on Djuma right now. It's pretty insane, and not only sitting, it's very relaxed as well, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, Ali, you're wondering if there's different subspecies of cheetah. Well, no. So the cheetah that we see here and the cheetah that you see in the Mara are the same thing. There's no different species between the two of them. Unfortunately, though, their numbers were reduced so much so that genetically they're all very similar. And so what they've been trying to do is trying to move cheetah around from Namibia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Kenya and Tanzania, and try and kind of mix them all up and try and get a better genetic variety from the small amount that they had. I think at one point cheetah were down to just over 20 in their numbers, and then they were repopulated out from there. So they're all very, very similar genetically. In fact, they can all be traced back to pretty much the same kind of individual. So it's an interesting sort of situation, but there is no subspecies of cheetah here in Africa, that's for sure, which is crazy. Well, which is not crazy, I suppose. It is just how it is. There's no subspecies of leopards either, really. So, Karen, you say there's one cheetah here. Is there likely to be others? Well, no, not necessarily. So, we don't have a situation like the Mara where there's a very big or high density of cheetah, where big coalitions form like the 5 Musketeers, or a lot of females that have young ones. So it's very seldom that we get cheetah through here, and the cheetah that we do get, often it's males on their own or females on their own. We seldom see bigger coalitions. Also, from where she's lying or he's lying, I can't tell you, like I say, if it's male or female. There's no other cheetah that I can see. I don't see a cheetah anywhere else here in these shady sections, and so I don't think there is another one here, and it's not uncommon to find individuals on their own. If it's a female, it's not surprising, because obviously she does have to be on her own sometimes. She will have to mate to produce her cubs before she can have them. And then if it's male, well, maybe he didn't have a coalition member to start with, and it's just been a solitary individual. Or he could be a situation where it's one of the 2 males that we saw around Cheetah Plains that maybe split for some reason. We know that they did split at the beginning of the year, and so maybe that's the same situation once again, and they've now gotten into a situation where they're kind of looking for each other, and that's why there's this distribution. But I have no idea. Like I say, I'm not sure who it is or where it comes from. Monique, you say seeing a cheetah at Djuma is about as rare as seeing a leopard in the Mara. Well, Monique, I'm not going to lie to you. I think it actually might be rarer. And the reason why I say that is because in my time here at Djuma, which has been a year now, this is only the 2nd sighting of cheetah that has been on Djuma. I luckily have been fortunate enough to see both sets of cheetahs, or both sightings, should I say, but it is only the 2nd time in that entire period that we've seen cheetah on Djuma, or found tracks for cheetah on Djuma. So it gives you an idea of how rare it really is. In the Mara, I know we don't see leopards that often, but there's still been quite a few sightings of them, and I know Brent has seen quite a few off air as well. So Gemma, you're wondering why these cheetah are so rare in the Sabi Sands? A number of reasons. One is habitat is not ideal. If you look at the difference between what we have here and what you see in the Mara, it's a very different picture. The Mara tends to be these big open grassland areas, whereas here we've got a situation where we've got a lot of trees, it's dense, it's thick, and therefore cheetah, 1, can't get up to top speed a lot of the time in these areas. 2, they tend to run into other predators a lot of the time, so you'll find a situation where they have a lot of competition with lion, hyena, and leopard, particularly leopards, and so their numbers are controlled a lot by those other apex predators in the area, and because it's so dense, they often get themselves into trouble a lot easier than with those in the Mara. And we've seen how many times those cheetahs in the Mara have come across lions. It's fairly regular, and so these guys unfortunately just don't have the option or the ability to see as far, and therefore a number of them have been killed, and they don't thrive like they would in that open area. It's not to say that parts of Southern Africa or parts of South Africa and the Greater Kruger Park system don't do well. It's just that the Sabi Sands itself is not really great habitat, and coupled with the very high density of leopard and lion and hyena means that it's not a great area for cheetah to survive. If you go into the central parts of the Kruger Park area, and so into the sort of open grassland areas around Satara and then down towards Crocodile Bridge, there the numbers of cheetah are fairly good. You'll find there's a couple down there, and they're fairly sort of successful in those areas. But down here in the Sabi Sands, it's just really not the right type of terrain, and like I say, too many predators for them to survive. This is ridiculous. And like I say, it's so chilled, so it must have seen vehicles off-roading many times, so it's not an animal that's come out of the Kruger, because animals in Kruger generally are a little bit skittish. It also seems to be an animal that must know this area, that it's so comfortable in just sleeping like that. It's not really that kind of perturbed by the cars that are around it, which begs the question as to who this is, and, you know, like I say, why is it here? That is the interesting question. I know there was a cheetah that used to hang around on Arethusa airstrip. Maybe it's that individual, I'm not 100% sure. We also used to have a female many moons ago when I first started at Chitwa that had a massive scar down its left side, which was a female cheetah, and that individual just disappeared. Maybe it's her that's come back, I have no idea. Either way, it's exciting, and either way, it's incredibly special that we've managed to find this. And what a way to start off our year, to have a cheetah on Djuma. Absolutely ridiculous. Fag, you're wondering if there's a possibility that this cheetah would have a territory here in Djuma in the near future. Difficult to say. I mean, we do get cheetah moving through, and they pass through and they don't set up a territory. I doubt that we're going to see too much of a territory here. We might see it hang around for the next couple of days, but I don't think we'll see a massive territory set up. There's too many leopards here at the moment. I mean, we're sitting in an area, this is exactly where Tundi and Shadow basically were fighting yesterday. So there was 2-3 leopards that were here. We know that, you know, Tingana, Hosana, Tamba, they all move around in this area, which is a potential threat for her. The Angama pride, the Styx pride. So I highly doubt that this individual is going to set up a territory right here. It might go towards quarantine and see, oh, hang on a second, this is quite nice, and spend a couple of days around here, and maybe every now and then come through. But whether it would set up an actual territory that we would see it more regularly than that, I don't think so, but anything is possible. You never know with animals, they could potentially do it, and wouldn't be the first time that I've seen a cheetah eke out an existence in even the most inhospitable terrain for them. There was a cheetah that used to hang around Simambili, and around Simambili on the Manyeleti drainage there is incredibly thick, much thicker than probably most of the places we have on Djuma. And this cheetah used to roam around in there quite often, and was very successful, funny enough, in amongst those thickets. And so it might even be this individual that is here now. So who knows, maybe it's possible, I suppose, but I just don't think so. I think it would be a situation where there's too many other predators around for there to be any sort of semblance of hope for this cheetah to actually establish a really big territory or to be here regularly. But you never know. I would be delighted to be proved wrong in this situation, and absolutely happy for this cheetah to stick around for a lot longer, that's for sure, because, well, like I say, just ridiculous. To have the spotted cats around in the form of leopards is the most incredible thing, but to have cheetah in the mix as well, for us, is a very special surprise. So I would love to have it around a lot more than what we have seen over the past. I just want to know where it came from. That's my biggest question right now. So Kathy, you're wondering if Hosana would try and chase this cheetah away, and do leopards and cheetahs fight over territory? Well, I'll start with the latter question. So leopards and cheetah most certainly do fight over territory, and there's been a number of cheetah that have been killed by leopards in the Kruger Park system that I've seen. I've seen a cheetah being hoisted into a tree once before, which is a bit macabre, but does happen. So leopards will chase cheetahs, and most certainly will go after them and not share territory. I mean, there'll obviously be an overlap of territory, but if they catch cheetahs, they will kill them. But in saying that, Hosana seems as though I don't know what. Hosana's got another story to him. he likes to kind of just spend time with everybody, and it seems as though yesterday he was messing around with the wild dogs, and I saw a video of him chasing a hyena around all over the place, and then, you know, he tries to make friends with all the other leopards. So maybe he would try and make friends with this cheetah and just be interested in what it is. I don't think Hosana probably has ever life before, so it would be a thing to know what he did if he came across this animal. I think he'd be more curious than anything else and approach it, and maybe it would be aggressive, and that would trigger him to try and chase it. I don't know. I think it would be a very cool sighting to have, to see him. On the other hand, though, Thandi and Shadow most certainly would chase this cat because it's a threat to their cubs, and so they would not tolerate this cheetah here at all. There was, when was it? I think it was in 2014, maybe 2015, somewhere there. There was a standoff between Kwatila and a cheetah on the Arethusa runway, and eventually Kwatila was the one that chased this cheetah, and the cheetah kind of moved off and retreated. But it was interesting to watch that whole interaction because that cheetah actually stood its ground for a little bit with Kwatila, and the two of them kind of circled around each other, and then eventually the cheetah decided, no, I'm going to get out of here, and trotted off, and Kwatila was left there on the airstrip by herself. But so it just goes to show that generally a cheetah would give way over a leopard 9 times out of 10, or in fact 100 times out of 100 really. I would imagine they might try and defend themselves a little bit, but they'll try and get out as much as possible. Now, Dave, I'm going to just reposition you because I got so excited when we first got in that I didn't really park very nicely at all. So I'm going to try and park in a better way and try and see if I can get a nice view. And while I do that, I believe we're going to go across to Noelle, who's apparently got spider webs all over her lens, and maybe her and Wiem should clean them off, apparently.
Hello everyone, sorry my fingers there, I'm just trying to get some spider webs off. We picked up some really fresh leopard tracks that look to be maybe Hosana or Tamba sized tracks. And look, again, not knowing Tamba really well, I do know that Hosana likes this little area that we're in, and they're fresh enough that I am now boondu bashing a little bit. So it's interesting because when something like this happens, let's say we were on bushwalk, obviously we would just keep on foot, but the amount of time I need to follow up on these tracks would be about 20 or 30 minutes, and obviously we're still alive on camera with you all. So you're coming with me and Vildi and Jiga, and we are checking out this area. So I am looking in the shade of the trees, and I'm looking around termite mounds, and I'm basically just bisecting the general direction that those tracks were going, because they're fresh enough to me that I think that this leopard was moving in the past couple of hours. They were really good tracks. And it has been a warm afternoon, but young male leopards like Hosana and Tamba do not read the books, as do many leopards, and they like to defy convention and do whatever they please. Okay, I think let's go over here. Now, that cheetah sighting sounds absolutely incredible, and I am super jealous, but so excited for all of you that you managed to get a good look there with Tristan. And I'm hoping this cheetah sticks around for a little while, so maybe we can see it for, instead of just one drive, but for a couple of drives. Now, we are not far from where we had the Sticks and the Birminghams on a very large kudu kill in the beginning of December. We're also not far from a couple little mud pans that Hosana likes to go to, and we're also not far from the very first time I saw Hosana in the bushes here. So now I believe Tristan has a better view of that cheetah, so I think let's head back over to him while I'm busy navigating this area and trying to find this leopard. Ooh, sorry, Vildi.
Well, Noelle, yes, it is a better view. We don't have spider webs on our lens, so Dave is being very studious and has made sure our lens is nice and clean. And I've positioned him in a better spot that we can actually see a nice long sort of side of the cheetah, and if it pops its head up, we can at least get a better view. Now, from this position here, it looks potentially like it could be a female. Just the size of it looks very small, very slender. It doesn't have that same sort of male build, but like I say, I haven't seen a cheetah in so long that honestly I could be completely wrong, but it looks like a female to me. I'm not 100% sure though. Either way, it is a cheetah that is in need of a meal. If you look at its tummy there, it's quite sucked in. But this is quite common for cheetah though. They often do look like that, but it does look as though it could do with a little bit of food in order to just top that belly up. Wouldn't it be exciting if this cheetah decides to get up just now, start walking, goes on to Weaver's Nest, up Weaver's Nest, all the way to Quarantine and starts to hunt on Quarantine, and we film a cheetah hunting on Quarantine? Wouldn't that just be the most ridiculous thing? Dave, would you want that? Yes, exactly. Dave wants that as well. I want that. So let's hope that this does happen. It is the most insane thing to think that that could be a possibility. If you had asked me this morning or this afternoon, you're going to go and see, or tell me, sorry, you're going to go and see a cheetah at Twin Dams, and it's going to be on Djuma, I would have laughed at you and told you that that's just ridiculous and you shouldn't tell lies or fibs. But there you go. It's a proof right there that you just absolutely never know what you can see on safari, and it's part of the reason why doing what we do and why people going on safari is just the most magical thing, because you could never, ever in your wildest dreams think of half of the things that you get to see by just driving around here. And some days you get spoilt, some days you don't, but today is definitely a very special day to be able to see a cheetah. And I know it's sleeping, and I know it doesn't look as though it's doing much, and it doesn't seem very interesting maybe to some people who have just joined us, or people who have seen many cheetahs in their life before, but given the circumstance around it, it is very, very, very interesting to me. And I think it's absolutely fascinating that we've got a cheetah on Djuma once again. So I'm super happy. Mohammed, you say look at those perfectly arranged spots. They do have beautiful spots, don't they? And you tend to forget. I mean, I always look at leopards and always say that they are the most beautiful animal out here, and the reason why is because we just see them so much that you kind of forget about the beauty of a cheetah's coat. Cheetah does have this incredible sort of coloration. It's much lighter, I find, in the leopards, and those solid spots are also just as beautiful as any leopard as well. So it's a stunning animal, and just like I say, to be in the presence of it is a very special thing. So super happy that we are able to get here and that it didn't cross out. It looked like, apparently it was kind of moving around and looking like it might go southwards, but the way that it's lying now, it's almost lying in a way that it looks as though it wants to go northwards, which is very, very good. So if it stands up, it's facing north. Hopefully it will then carry on that way and go back up towards the quarantine area. But I'm at a bit of a loss for words. I know it doesn't sound like it because I'm talking a lot, but that's just because I'm excited. But I honestly am at a bit of a loss for words as to what's going on and why there is a cheetah on Djuma right now. Seems as though it's very sleepy too as well. It doesn't seem as though we're going to get too much from it right now, but it's worth being patient, that's for sure, because you never know. It's that time of the day as well where we might see a situation where this cheetah does decide to get up and to maybe start moving around, and having a situation where we'll get some form of excitement out of it. It's hungry enough, so I would imagine that hunting is definitely on the cards, and so we'll have to just see. Enigma, this cheetah doesn't have to travel far at all, so at this stage to go and try and find food and good hunting grounds, there's two options for it. One is to go south, and just south of us here is an area called Luca's Open. Now Luca's Open is on Little Gowrie, and it's a nice little open clearing, and then if it carries on south of that, it goes on to really nice clearings on Hofmans, which is a property to the south of us, and those are really good places for a cheetah to hunt. I've seen cheetah there before, but on Djuma itself, it would probably have to travel walking time for a cat, maybe I would say 15 minutes north of us, which would then take it up towards sort of quarantine area, Philemon's cut line. Those areas would all be okay for a cheetah to hunt on, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do end up hunting in that area. So, you know, that's not too far away. I suppose it seems far because, you know, it takes an animal a while to get there. They don't just walk straight there, and this cheetah probably doesn't know this area very well at all, and therefore it's got a situation where it's got to try and work out exactly what's going on around it. But not far away at all. Even Twin Dams itself could theoretically be a hunting ground. So Tulan, who's 5 years old. Hello Tulan, it's been a long time since I've heard from you, and I hope that you're having a wonderful weekend, and you must say hello to Tucker for me as well. Now Tulan, you're wondering if the cheetahs are as sleepy as the lions and the leopards. Well, yes, they do sleep a lot like the lions and the leopards do. We have a situation where, as you can see, this leopard is quite tired. But Tulan, normally what happens with cheetah is that they're a little bit more active during the day, so they like to move around while it's still light. They don't like to hunt as much during the night as the lions and the leopards, unless they're the five musketeers, who seem to not really care too much, and they don't mind hunting even in the night time. But most of the time the cheetah would like to hunt in the day, and so we get to see them active more than we see what the lions and leopards do, because the lions and leopards tend to be more active during the night time. So this cheetah is probably resting because it's still quite warm, Tulaan, but once that sun goes down just a little bit, I think this cheetah might stand up and start moving again, which will be quite nice. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, and just have a little look and see whether or not it does wake up. But I'm very excited, Tulaan, and I hope you are too. I hope that we'll get this cheetah to walk around, and that it will be able to see exactly what it gets up to in the last light of the day. For now, though, it's trying to be its best impression of a rug and trying to sleep as much as possible. James, you're wondering if she could attract the cheetah brothers if she were an estrus. Well, most certainly. So, I mean, if she was in proper estrus and she scent marks enough and walks from where the cheetah brothers come from, then yes, we could have a situation that they'll follow her from there. Also, she might vocalize a little bit if she's looking for a mate, and if she vocalizes, then you never know. Maybe they pick it up and they start moving into this area. That's assuming that this is a female. It looks very feminine in its sort of weight and its way that it sort of has built. But if it is a female and its scent marks in the right places and walks in the right areas, then yes, the boys might follow her all the way to Djuma if she's come from those areas. Also, like I say, if she does call and vocalize, we know with leopard and lions, both of the females in that, when they do come into estrus, will vocalize at times to try and attract males towards where they are, or try and find males. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not they do. I mean, if she is a female and she definitely doesn't have cubs, then an estrus cycle is a possibility at some point. And when a female cheetah is roaming like this, it's often because she is in search of a mate. And who knows, maybe that does lead the two boys into these areas. But you can see how much more aware she is than a leopard or a lion. Most leopards and lions would just sleep and wouldn't be too worried. But every little sound that is made around this individual, head goes up, scans around a little bit, listens out with those big ears, just to make sure it's not going to be caught unawares by any one of the other predators or something that could potentially be dangerous. But back to sleep again. I'm quite curious as to what it is. I'm hoping it's going to turn, and if it turns over or rolls over, its legs hopefully will open, and that will answer the mystery as to whether it's a boy or a girl. At this stage, it's impossible to tell which one it is 100%, but like I said, the build just seems to be a very sleek and slender, and kind of the head and neck area just remind me of a female, not really a male, but I could be wrong. Like I say, it's been so long. Right, now, apparently, while we sit and be patient with our cheetah, who's still very restful, I believe Noel is not restful at all and seems to be up and down and up and down and up and down, and maybe our cheetah can get some lessons in what Noel has been busy doing.
Tris, I am up and down and in and out and in and out. We came out of the bush onto the road, and our instincts and our tracking were right. Here is where this little male leopard came to drink. There's the back 3 pads and 1, 2, 3, 4 toes. Knelt down here and had a drink. Now, this is pretty fresh. Fresh enough that I'm super excited about it. The only problem is this area here around is very hard and compacted, so we weren't able to find any tracks. We checked just down in the drainage line this way, see if he'd crossed, can't see anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to drive down the road and then come along the next road that comes through here and see what we can do. I don't know if you can all see this background behind me, but it is thick and it is perfect leopard habitat. I just want whoever this is, hopefully Hosana, to come and say hello rather than hide away. So let me get back on the vehicle so that we can spend our remaining time looking for our last minute leopard. I also don't have any bird calls that are telling me where he could be. Ooh, but it sounds like The cheetah has decided not to be a flat cat anymore, so let's go over there while I'm busy searching for our last-minute leopard.
Well, I hope that Noelle finds her last-minute leopard, and hopefully in the time that Noelle is looking for her last-minute leopard, our cheetah decides to stand up and start moving. It would be very, very nice if it did. I'm hoping that for some reason it just sees something that and decides this is what I want to go and maybe hunt or eat. We're in a good place because there's a number of impalas that often come down towards Trinidad for a drink at this time of the day, and so who knows, maybe this cheetah decides to head down there and catches an impala unawares in that area. That's what I'm hoping for. Whether or not it is going to happen, I'm not quite sure. Now, Spout, you're wondering, what do cheetahs normally hunt? Well, cheetahs will, in the Sabi sands generally, will hunt small to medium-sized antelope. So they go after a lot of duiker, steenbok particularly. Also impala lambs would be high up on the menu, even impalas themselves. And then also things like scrub hares, they'll also chase those down. In the marits, obviously they go after gazelles more than probably anything else. They do also chase scrub hares. It depends again on the number of cheetah as well. You've seen with the 5 musketeers, they go after fairly large prey in the form of young zebras and young wildebeest and even quite large wildebeest there as well. So the more there are, the easier it becomes to hunt larger animals. But a single cheetah like this, most of what she's going to try and go for are small impalas, steenbok, duiker, scrub hares. That would be what this individual would probably hunt. It's not a massive cheetah, this, and so, you know, at the end of the day, it's not going to be able to really wrestle too much with big things like wildebeest or even zebra. That would be far too big. It might be able to catch one of those baby wildebeest for sure. So at the end of the day, we have a situation where we, you know, we'll try hopefully not have footloose being killed, but if this cheetah would go up there and hunt, I think those little wildebeest would be probably in a bit of trouble. It seems as though it's just starting to fall asleep again. Now, because we're sitting here and we're waiting and we're being patient for our cheetah to decide to wake up and move around, I think we should have a little one-word tweet about a cheetah on Djuma. What do you think, Dave? One-word tweet about cheetah on Djuma. Hashtag Safari Live, or YouTube chat even if you want to, as to what you think about this cheetah on Djuma. You can either decide if you want to have a emotion, or you can tell me whether you think it's male or female, or anything really, as to what this cheetah kind of evokes in you and what you think about the fact that we have a cheetah on Djuma at this very point. So maybe let's do that and see what everybody thinks out there. I'm pretty sure 99% of you are as excited as I am, because it's ridiculous to actually have this individual here on the property at the moment. Still very curious as to whether it's male or female. I think maybe if the cheetah doesn't decide to move just now, I might just take it, sort of drive around the backside of it and just see if maybe we can get a tail flick and just see if there's any man parts or if it's a little lady part underneath there. We'll have to just have a look and hopefully we'll get something that will confirm what it is. But you can see, look at the head. The head is very small and quite a thin neck as well. So if it is a male, it seems to be that it might be a fairly youngish male. The ears are in quite good condition. There's not too many nicks or cuts out of those ears. There is a little bit of scarring on the back, which would be from ticks, but there's not too much in the way of damage in those ears, and so maybe it's a younger individual, a young male, potentially. I don't know. Interesting. I will have to try and see. My experience with cheetahs is very limited. I certainly don't have as much experience with cheetahs as a lot of other presenters that are part of the Safari Live team. There's a number of others that have spent a lot more time around cheetahs than what I have, and particularly the guys that have been up in Kenya. They've obviously seen some amazing things with the cheetahs. So I don't really know if it is a young male or if it's an old male or if it's a female. Like I say, I'm just guessing, given that I've seen big males, and the 2 males down on Cheetah Plains appear much larger than this individual that we're seeing here. So DCH, both sexes will mark territory, much like a leopard or lions. They both will urinate and defecate and in a form of marking. You'll find though that much like the lionesses and things, the amount of marking they do generally is far less than what you see from the males. The males will mark everything because they're trying to keep other males out, whereas the females tend to really kind of just go about it and do it, particularly when they feel like there's pressure around. So in this case, let's say with Tundi and Shadow, they would mark quite a bit, and if this is a female, had another female around, I'd expect her to mark a lot more than what she probably is now. Especially if it is an individual that is just passing through, there probably won't be too much scent marking from this individual until it decides, well, maybe this is an area that I'm going to spend time, and then it might. But they both do mark their territories, that's for sure. Right, so we have our cheetah, but Noel has apparently been successful and has managed to track down a slinky rosetted cat.
Look what we found! Hosana! Alright, so this was some epic dual tracking by myself and Vildi, and as we were driving up just now, I'm looking hectically into this drainage line going, where could he be? And Vildi goes, look, and there he is, right in the middle of the road. Our beautiful, beautiful Prince of Djuma. Thanks, my boy. Looking a little bit fat, I'm not gonna lie. What have you been eating? Oh, I'm over the moon right now. Cheetah, Leopard, both on Djuma. This is too good. This is an epic afternoon, an epic Sunday afternoon. Can we hear the little Franklin alarm calling in the back? So that's a Franklin. I don't know if we can hear it. It's a Franklin going, it's a leopard! It's like a loud whisper, it's a leopard! Ooh, Paula, good question. Who's stronger, a leopard or a cheetah? Paula, definitely a leopard. A leopard is stronger, for sure. A cheetah is meant for speed, is long and lithe, and its bone structure is lighter than that of a leopard. This young male leopard here can kill a full-grown impala and drag it several meters up a tree. That cheetah can run for far distances and catch, say, a full-grown impala, but it's going to use its prowess in its speed and its claws to take it down. Actually, you're not as full as I thought you were. You've definitely been eating, but you're not as full as I thought you were. Please don't go across the drainage line, my boy. It's very difficult over there. You can go and lie in that shade, though. That'll be fine. He sees something. He sees something that's interesting him. He's not in full stock mode, but he's definitely keen on maybe some birds in the drainage line. Not quite sure. I'm trepidatious to move at this moment in time. I know that the branches and the leaves are in the way, but that's okay. It allows us to see his camouflage coat just a little bit better. There's also possibly something like Nyala or Diker in here. The wind is blowing from the right-hand side of Hosana to his left, so that's away from the drainage line. So if he has seen something that hasn't seen him, his scent will be blown away and gives him a better opportunity. You can see his ears are listening, but they're a bit more forward. And he stopped and is keeping his eyes straight ahead. But it's not, look, from his behavior, it's not something that's right here, right now. He has to kill it and eat it. But there's definitely a movement that's attracting his attention, which is why I say something like birds. Remember, leopards will eat guinea fowl, they'll eat franklins. I've seen them chasing after doves. As you all know, Hosana, when he was much younger, even ate things like terrapins, amazingly enough. I've seen leopards eat scorpions, baby mice. But this is looking more like a bird. And do you remember that day a couple of months ago, or maybe a month ago, when he was busy stalking that tree squirrel in that bush just there by Chitwa Dam? Okay, so he's not low down anymore. He's just moving. I think let's move the vehicle. Monique, you're wondering if it's possible for Hosana to smell that cheetah. Monique, we're a bit far from there, to be honest with you. If we were closer, it's possible. But again, he'd be more attracted to the urination smells of the other leopards and smells of other leopards than, say, that cheetah. Although I do think if he were to see the cheetah, he would get super curious about it, but I don't think he would necessarily expose himself. He's still a little bit young. If he was an older male and spied that cheetah or caught a whiff of that cheetah, he might go after it. Lions definitely will. It's also possible maybe a warthog came past. I've seen leopards scenting after warthogs before. We've seen it on the show before many times. See how his tail is twitching there? He's interested. Where he's heading to is quite a difficult area for us. We are going to do our best to stick with him. As long as he sticks sort of this side, we will be okay. I think let's go back to Tristan, who has that cheetah still. Let's go get another view, and Vildi and I will work on keeping Hosana in our sights for all of you.
And then walk north up to Weaver's Nest and then go that way. We'll need an extension.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah. Right, now, I believe we are live, but unfortunately I have no comms whatsoever, so who knows what's been going on. I'm hoping that she's going to go, or he, I'm not sure, northwards up towards Twin Dams or somewhere in that area. Well, that's the idea anyway. It's yawning, so that might mean that there is time to get up and start moving. All of a sudden there was a bit of a kind of head up and quite alert moving sort of northwards, and well, looking northwards. So I'm hoping that this yawning might be a good sign for us that this cheetah is going to get up and go. Twin Dam's not far, so even if it goes for a drink, it would be quite nice. But let's just have a look. We came around this side because I thought maybe I'll be able to get an idea of whether it's a boy or a girl, but I can't see much at all. There's a lot of grass in the way, but lots of yawning. I think we're going to see it getting up, and it's just its general demeanor to me looks female. Like I say, could be completely wrong, but it just kind of doesn't look as bulky as the males, that's for sure, particularly the ones that we see around Cheetah Plains. And you can see there's actually 3 spots there just on its right shoulder, so that would be quite nice for trying to ID this animal. If we ever saw other cheetahs, or we have pictures of other cheetahs, maybe somebody who's got pictures of the cheetah female with the 3 that came onto Djuma a few months ago can use those 3 spots just on the shoulder area, just where her head was. You can see there's kind of 3 in a row there, and they're quite unique, so that would be a nice thing to use to be able to maybe try and ID it and try and see whether or not this individual has been seen on Djuma before, or if it's a new cheetah to the area. It's obviously difficult for us because we have a situation where we don't see cheetah regularly enough. Even that female with those 3 cubs, that was the first time we saw her, was a few months ago, and so very difficult to know whether or not this is an individual. But there we go, standing up. It does look female. Was it a male? It is a male, eh? Yes, it is a boy. Look at that. Interesting. So it is a male. It's a young male then, but it's got a sore paw. Look at that. That paw is injured, so it's limping a little bit. Very swollen in that area, which is not ideal for a cheetah, and maybe that's why it's a little bit sort of skinny and why it's ended up in this area. Wonder if this isn't one of those 3 young ones that's moved into this section. Interesting nonetheless, but it's definitely got a bit of trouble walking on that paw. That paw looks a little sore and a little uncomfortable. Let's just try and quickly get through, but I'm surprised it's a male. It must be a young male, because that body and that build is very, very slight in comparison to what I've seen from the big boys on Cheetah Plains. They are quite bulky animals and actually look quite impressive, whereas this guy is fairly small in his appearance, that's for sure. But shame, that front paw is definitely not looking very nice at all. Are you going to just sit there behind the sticks, or are you going to allow us to come around? Oh, this light on this cheetah is absolutely... Look at those eyes. Look how beautiful that light... Oh, sorry, Darby, let me go forward a bit. Look at that. And that is why cheetah have the most mesmerizing eyes, because when you get this orange golden light and it shines in those eyes, it is just, they come alive, and it almost looks like they've got fire in their eyes. They are absolutely stunning creatures when they have that situation. Now, I don't know. I think this cheetah is going to go back into that same spot and maybe just lie down there again. It's sore. It's got a paw that doesn't probably feel very comfortable at all. And so I think it's going to have a situation where maybe it's just going to try and find another place to rest. Although it's moving southwards, and that's... oh, not good. Now, Scarlett, you say for one word tweet. You say surreal. Well, it is surreal to have this cheetah on Djuma, and it looks like it might cross southwards over the boundary. So we're going to just try and reverse and try and get one last glimpse of it as it goes over the boundary and sort of heads that way. And while we do that, let's send you over to Noel and Hosana.
Hi everyone! I'm busy driving, trying to keep up with our beautiful boy here, so excuse the back of my head. What I'm going to try and do is I'm just going to come around him so that maybe we can get a nice visual with one, the back of my head, and two, with hopefully some nice light. So I'm just going to come around like this, through our little combretum trees, our little bush willows. And I'm so sorry about any breakup in signal. We're in a funny little edge of a drainage line, which makes it a little bit difficult. There we go. This will be nice, hopefully. He's still interested in every now and then in something. Not quite sure what. There's also a possibility, Billy and I were tracking Tingana earlier, and I know that they got quarantined. I'm not quite sure where. I think maybe over on Torchwood, which is not far from us. So I think that there's possibly a lot of other leopard scents, and Tumba was also not far away. Oh, the cheetah is crossing the boundary. Go to Tristan quickly.
Well, it is crossing the boundary. It's just standing on the road though, and then off it goes into Little Gowrie. So pretty amazing to see. That is a spectacular way for us to have a sort of afternoon drive. It's absolutely ridiculous. It seems to be walking okay now. It's very swollen there, and I'm sure it's quite sore, but with a bit of adrenaline, I think this cheetah would actually be able to move fairly well. I think it would be able to actually maybe catch a meal. It definitely could do with one, but it is walking semi-decently, to be honest. It's not as bad as it first kind of appeared when it first stood up, but there it goes, slinking its way through the thickets. And so unfortunately for us, that's going to be the last that we're going to see of our cheetah as it goes southwards and deeper into Little Gowrie. But how incredible was that? Absolutely amazing. Raghu, you're wondering what the chances of this cheetah's survival is? Well, difficult to say. I mean, at the end of the day, it's limping, which is never easy. There's a number of other predators here, which is going to make life difficult for it, but it's possible. I mean, I've seen other cheetahs survive. The cheetah that I was referring to earlier with the big scar down its side, that was a cheetah that was attacked by lions and somehow managed to survive. It had a gash from its front leg to its back leg, so you can imagine how difficult that was, but yet it found a way. So I'm hoping that this cheetah also finds a way somehow and makes a plan and it gets, well, is able to feed itself, and then we may get to see it again someday soon, which would be quite nice. Right, well, we're going to carry on. I'll go back towards where Thandi and the trucks were and see if maybe we can get lucky there. While we do that, let's go back across to Noel and Hosana.
So we still have him, and he's doing the funniest thing. He's not walking straight as per normal. He is zigging and zagging, and he's up and down, which I think is one of the reasons why it took us as long as it did to find him. Sniffing there on the tree, possibly some scent marks. Also remember, we're not far from where Kachava likes to be as well, so there's possibly scent marks of females. And females that he'll know. Smelling all around the base of that tree there. Now, I have not seen Hosana scent marking yet, but because he was abandoned so young, and because it looks like he's trying to take over pieces of Tingana's territory, it wouldn't surprise me if he starts doing it earlier than you would normally see. I'm just trying to figure out which way he wants to go before I move us. Oh, there, everyone, that's beautiful. That's absolutely gorgeous there. So I've seen Tingana here. Q usually doesn't come this far, but it does happen from time to time, and I've seen Kachava just south of here. There's that Fleming grimace. Definitely leopard scent on that tree. Definitely. He's going to do it again. You see how the hair on the back of his neck is standing up just a little bit. All right, investigated that. So part of his zigging and zagging might have quite a lot to do with whatever this previous leopard was doing in this area, as opposed to us. I mean, you all know Hosana. He likes Ronald the Rover. He enjoys our vehicles. I've had him on foot several times. He finds us extremely interesting. And we're just not we're not factoring in his life at all at the moment. I'm just going to back up. And try and maneuver us so that when he starts going the way that he's going again, that we manage to catch him as best as possible and then can keep following him as best as possible. Katie, good question. He is almost fully grown. He needs about another 2 years for him to get that nice buff appearance. Now, while we have him right here, there's actually a beautiful view of a battler just straight up from where he is. Gorgeous eagle, gorgeous light. I just wanted to show that to all of you as he stops to sniff around. Because remember, watching leopards and birding is the 2 best things in the whole world, besides lions on foot and elephants on foot. Those are the 4 best things. And he's going to head straight up this pathway and then across a little bit. So remember that whatever territorial leopard was here would have walked along a similar route and would have sprayed the urine like you saw there on that knobthorn tree, and then would have walked a little bit and then sprayed urine and then walked a little bit and then sprayed urine, and so on and so on. Now I have seen, we were talking about if Hosana could smell that cheetah and things like that. I've seen with lions smelling where leopard had urinated, and I've seen leopards smelling where lions have urinated. Well, there we go, my boy. Thank you for that. But they don't usually do it to then, you know, bloodhound track that particular species. It's just part of the scent that they're keen on as they're going about their daily or nightly business. Again, notice the twitch to the tail, how interested he is in whatever it is that he's seen. Watch. Watch, watch, watch. Watch his whole behavior right now. He's seen something that he definitely wants to go after. Scout, you're wondering... Sorry, Bex, just send that question through one more time. Wondering the natural predator of... Oh, what is the natural predator of a leopard, Scout? Natural predator of a leopard would be other leopards or lion, or if it's leopard cubs, cheetah will kill leopard cubs. Hyenas will kill leopards. No predator likes another predator. And then, of course, humans. He's definitely seen something. And we've got Franklin's alarm calling behind us. There's a leopard here, there's a leopard here. That's all they're calling. I'm just turning very slightly. I can't see what he's seen. So again, it could be something like a bird or a squirrel. Also in a very good habitat for duiker, which would be a good meal for Hosana. Also find impala in here, and nyala, a baby kudu. You could very easily get a baby kudu. And then every now and then in scenarios like this, you get a scenario where there's possibly another leopard that's here. Do you remember a few weeks ago we had Tingana, and Tingana kept looking behind myself and Ferg, and there was Kachava. And remember that Hosana's also been looking around for whatever leopard's been here, been smelling after it. So I've got quite a few thickets. Oh, look, look, look. There he goes, there he moves. It's not quite a full stock, but he is quite curious. It's going around that tree. Oh, it was a tree squirrel. He was looking after a tree squirrel. Let me just move the car a little bit. There's a tree squirrel in that knobthorn tree that's now busy huffing and puffing at him. You can just see his tail there. And I can see the job. Perfect. Vildy's also seen the tree squirrel. And now, oh, Hosana's given up. It's interesting, this is the second time I've seen him do this, where he's really trying to go after these tree squirrels, and every time they manage to be in just too much of a thorn tree and he can't get in, but he might turn into one of those leopards that does amazingly well hunting tree squirrels through trees. There's wonderful documentary footage of that, the female leopard in Botswana. I think let's go around like this, it looks a little bit more open. That was very cool. Now we're just trying to find our gaps through here. Let's go to Tristan while we're busy finding our little gaps and let him show you a bit of our own South African sunset.
Well, Noel, I'm not in a great place for the sunset, unfortunately. I will be just now in the next couple minutes, so I'll try get there as quick as I can, and then maybe we can see a sunset. I'll have to just put a little bit of acceleration into this process because, well, it's a little far away from where a nice sunset would be. And the sunset I'm thinking of is that goes over Philemon's cut line. So that's where I'm trying to head to very quickly. I'm kicking myself a little bit today because I was saying to Dave earlier when we were tracking Tundi that I saw that track for the cheetah, and in my mind I was like, cheetah track, and then I just kind of said, no, it's impossible. There's no cheetah that would have walked down Weaver's Nest. It can't sort of happen, and that we do have a three-lobed hyena, and I don't really, think that it's around, and it's not worth following, so I just ignored it and carried on tracking Tundi. But I should have followed the tracks. We would have found the cheetah earlier, which is, anyway, doesn't matter. It all worked out in the end. We still got to see it, which is wonderful. So, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to make it to where the sunset situation is because, well, we're running out of time, and, well, Noel still has the beautiful Hosana, so let's rather go over to her with a picture of him and the sunset.
We are going to walk into the setting sun with Hosana hopefully down the road. He's magnified in this beautiful backlighting, this golden backlighting. It's not a bad way to spend the last little bit of time we have with each other. We have had an absolutely incredible game drive this afternoon, filled with lots of cheetah and Djuma, so exciting, as well as leopard and all of the amazing predators that we're seeing up in the Masai Mara. I've thoroughly enjoyed being out and about with all of you, as I hope all of you have enjoyed being out and about with us. We are shortly going to lose sighting of our beautiful Prince of Djuma. He's going to head over into the thickets there. And we will see you all tomorrow morning. Thank you so much from myself and Vildy and Tristan and Davi and everyone in FC and the Mara.